certainly brings out the craziest of the crazies and turns them against whoever you've accused of that. Paul Rieckhoff, your thoughts?
Our enemies are celebrating. I mean, if you just look across the last couple months of all of this, I mean, everything from Signalgate to the exposure of our National Guard troops to the infighting and the threats of violence that come from our commander-in-chief. I mean, Hegseth's having a really bad week, but Putin and our enemies are having a good week. If you just look at how the average American is less safe this week because of potential compromises of classified information, because senators are fearing for their lives, and because our troops can't trust the head of the Defense Department not to get them killed. I think it's a really important point we have to put on this. All the terminology around classifications of whether it's secret or top secret or classified, the key point of what we're learning about Signalgate is he disclosed information that could have gotten people killed. And that's why he needs to go. He never should have been there to begin with, but our troops can't have any confidence in him for another minute that he won't get them killed, especially as Trump is considering escalating attacks on Venezuela.
And to lose often means someone you care for does not. As such, I am grateful to be a member of the most precise and lethal fighting force the world has ever known.
What is publicly known about Admiral Bradley is all impressive and sterling. And this word that he uses really struck me in the wake of how the White House has talked about him and the things that Hegseth has tweeted about him. He says, quote, "I'm grateful to be a member of the most precise and lethal fighting force the world has ever known." To take pride in and to raise up for non-military members he's testifying for Congress, members of Congress, or the public, that precision is a matter of, quote, life and death. And the life and death of the people on your team feels like an important thing to understand about him.
Yes, he is a precise man, and he is a real American badass. He's not a fake. He's tested, he's respected, and he, I think, will be honest and earnest. And it will be a direct contrast from the abdication of real leadership we've seen from Hegseth from the moment he was sworn in. It's important to note that Bradley is responsible here, too. And if he screwed up, if he made the call, he will probably take responsibility for it. And you may see other folks down the chain of command, because we all understand that a double tap is literally a case study. I mean, this entire discussion around the boats and the wounded is something they would teach in the schoolhouse at Fort Benning. They would use it as an example. They would say, if, for example, people were wounded and clinging to a boat, and maybe to give a more popular understanding, anybody who's watched a war movie knows you don't shoot the wounded. And it's not just about being a badass or being a tough guy. It's also about the strategic value that a wounded person can provide. Because if they're bad enough to kill, they're bad enough to capture. And if you capture them, they could provide intelligence assets. And if these folks are so dastardly and invoking such a fear on our country, why didn't we capture them and find out what they know? So I think it's all going to come out in the wash here. It's critical that there is videotape, and there may be more videotape. And I hope we see a full exploration of every one of these strikes and accountability all across the board, because the military is a learning institution and they want to use this to get better. But they also need to know that they can have confidence in the people at the top. And that's really what you're talking about with Hegseth, is a total loss of confidence at a time when we need him to be stern and steady. And he's the opposite of that. And I think Bradley may show us a refreshing contrast that I hope will give us the clarity we need.
This may be a dumb question, Paul, but would Bradley understand that section that we just read from the Law of War manual that, quote, for example, orders to fire upon the shipwreck would be clearly illegal?
Yes. I mean, every plebe at West Point understands this. I mean, they literally teach this section, right? It's like warfighting 101. You learn it in basic training. You learn it at the academies. I mean, if you pulled, a dozen privates out of basic training who've only been there for a couple weeks, they would know this was wrong. And they also know that what Hegseth said by saying, I respect his orders, they know that means he's passing the buck. He didn't say, I am responsible for everything that everybody in the military does and everything they fail to do, like a real leader would have done. He passed the buck down to Bradley, and now Brown will be in the spotlight. And I think he's going to own it. He's going to own the responsibility, and other folks in the chain of command will do the same. And you will see the difference between a professional military that is non-political and is precise, and the radical, extremely political culture warrior that he's been for the last 11 months.